like what Tom said, 50% reduction in post-traumatic stress disorder and 60% reduction in illness and this sort of, so I was looking for some clinical stuff, and this article just had like some sort of meditation is body scanning, and then another type of meditation is guided imagery, and another type of meditation is focusing on the breath. So like that was the first time I'd seen someone just go bang, bang, bang. There's 5 different types of meditation.
Right.
So,
which you probably got from Wikipedia.
Yeah. So I was interested to know, because I know you've studied a lot. Like, is there 5 different types of meditation that you can sort of go bang? That's
go outside.
No, it's not as clear cut as that. Because they emerge out of all the different traditions.
So it's more like martial arts. There's like 12,000 different techniques.
Yeah, or even like music. You know, like meditation, you can say it's like the word is like the word music. There's so many different types of expression, and then you've got nearly an individual expression of your music, or your creative art within. You know, meditation is kind of like that. There's one way of putting it that meditation is where all art comes from. It's that creative wellspring within us all. And that's what artists and athletes and anyone under high performance has to reach in and touch as well. So, at its core, you mentioned dissolving into that perhaps. I think to touch that part within ourselves. And because of that, it's a subjective experience. It's not an objective thing. Like, I wouldn't know if Jeremy's abiding in a perfect open spacious awareness right now, or if he's thinking about stock market or whatever. You know, you can't tell what anyone's subjective state is, so it's very personal. It's a lot of skill involved.
If I was thinking about the stock market, I'd be going like this.
Relaxed. Yes. Lotus. So there's many different types. You could categorize them into some main ones. Concentration, like love and devotion, energy, work, transcendence. You could create some 5 main categories. They do in yoga, they call them. And there's action yoga as well. They call it karma yoga, which is being mindful in your actions and things like that. There's bhakti yoga, which is devotion. There's raja yoga, which is mind yoga and focusing on the mind. And then being virtuous and being mindful of your actions, which is karma yoga again. So yoga has about 4 or 5 main types, which I think samadhi is more concentration. So
Bikram yoga is just for the body, it's not for the mind.
Bikram yoga, you wouldn't. The system is part of to get you to meditation, clear the channels, open up the body, get you ready to sit and to experience the fullness of your being. So that's. Then you get into preliminaries things.
That's the warm-up you do before
you do preliminaries before you meditate. Some people say yoga is that, so you can sit in perfect meditation posture without getting a pain straight away. So yoga is a beautiful way of dealing with blockages in your body to move them. Because meditation, just sitting and watching your mind, is not the be-all and end-all either. That's only one part of meditation practice. One thing that comes from India that's not well known is meditation was taught in 2 periods. Your sitting period, what's called post-meditation. So meditation is actually a 24-hour event, 24-hour meditation coach. So it's not just something done on your cushion. That's sort of, it's like if you train, if you run in the morning, you do that running exercise, but then that fitness, that stamina, the cardiovascular will stay with you for the rest of the day, the rest of the week. And then you might need to top up more running sort of thing. Meditation can be like that. For me it is. I often get lazy with sitting regularly, and then I realise I'm a little bit flustered during my day. I'm not fit enough, so to speak, mentally. So I need to connect with myself. I need to sit down and find that.
So a lot of people have that, like the 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon where they just sit, and they might sit in their position or do that little chant. You're talking about like being almost mindful while you're gardening and doing the laundry and doing the dishes, you're in a state of meditation.
Exactly. But you find that in the stillness. So you realise that when you stop your thinking, when your emotions settle down, when you're calm, nothing else is going on, there's still something. And you find that something, this type of spaciousness, stillness, core, source, whatever you want to call it, it's a subjective experience that's not objective, so it's difficult to put into objective words. So when you find that in meditation, then you can bring that into every part of your life, and that's actually the aim of meditation. If you just meditate for 20 minutes a day, you're going to be limited in your understanding of meditation. And meditation, I think, at its core is an experiential, a personal study of your own mind. So you get to understand yourself, your emotions, how your thoughts work, how your mind works, and how you can cultivate what things don't work, things like that. So there's a Zen guy that says basically meditation is the study of the self, and by studying the self you learn that there is no self. So the studying of the self is the studying of that there is no self, or there is no ego that's fixed or permanent or whatever. Meditation is a big term. It's like psychology, you know. If you sat down with a psychologist professor or something and say, all right, so what's psychology? You know, it's a big term. It encompasses.
Or do you like sports?
Yeah.
Well, there's cricket, there's volleyball, there's soccer, there's football. There's even in football, there's 17 different kinds of football.
Exactly like that. So for me, I've simplified it. I teach a type of meditation called non-dual meditation. If you want to categorise, you could say there's two main types of meditation, broadly speaking, dualistic and non-dualistic. The dualistic ones are the ones where it's like materialism, it's like you're creating something. It's like you're going from here to here and you're improving it. You're taking your state of mind from here and you get to here and it's better. Your state of patience, you're working on your patience and you get somewhere, you actually get more patient. You work on your sense of love, kindness to others, you can actually improve that. Your concentration, these are things that can be developed. Athletes develop their concentration, performers, anyone in performance develops their concentration, and these are things that can be cultivated and worked on. So that's all under the category of dualistic meditation. Now what I call, and what's often called a mystic perspective, is what's a non-dual meditation, and that's seeing how things exist right now, without going anywhere, without changing it. No before and after. Just what's happening right now. Who am I? What's going on here? And it's a direct question and it's a direct experience that doesn't change. And it's called non-dual because you don't get from here to here. And it's also non-dual in the sense of my mind and everything that's happening right now is one. You know, we have the sense that I'm sitting over here and you guys are all having your own experience and there's a separate room. But in this experience of non-dualness, there's an experience of oneness, which is why it's a mystic perspective. And it's immediate. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't improve. It doesn't get harmed by you not seeing it. It's always there. And that's what type of meditation I want to focus on.
So when you go into that non-dual, you're tapping into that oneness? Is that what you're doing? Kind of, plugging in your socket and going, yes, I'm hooked up.
It's more that you're already plugged in.
Right, but you're just becoming aware. You're focusing.
Yes. And you're also removing the barriers to stop you from experiencing what's the most self-evident thing happening right now, so to speak. Yeah, so in a way you're stopping your opinions, your judgments, some superficial role-playing going on.
No problem. There we go. Perfect. That's okay.
So yeah, there's a sense of stopping to it as well as plugging in. So the first thing is stopping my roles, my pretensions, and then finding what's already there, which is authentic. And awareness is the most authentic thing. And that's the mystic perspective. And awareness is not just a subjective awareness that has an object. This type of awareness is a mystical experience, which is the same basis for your mind, the table. You get towards quantum science, which says everything is consciousness now, and things like that. Everything is energy that comes out of the field of quantum consciousness, and things like that. So it can be explained that way. It's difficult to experience those things, but it can be explained that way. But yeah, the non-dual stuff is being able to come to that immediate. It's more of a realization and that experience of emptiness, because it's more of an experience of an absence of ego, an absence of roles and pretension, rather than an actual thing. It's just what the Tibetans call your natural state, or an authentic state. And it's happening right now. I don't have to improve myself, I don't have to lose weight, I don't have to run more or meditate more. If I can find it, and you can have a good enough teacher, they can point it out to you right now. So that's what I get excited about, these types of teachings. They're the mystic side, but I do teach a whole gradual meditation from mindfulness, starting with mindfulness, which is cultivating concentration, and then self-inquiry, relaxation, all leading up to this state where you can completely let go into the non-dual, unconditioned awareness.
we had a conversation the other day about still point. I've been thinking about that ever since. Just
Still point technology.
yeah. Because everything, like again, quantum physics, like everything is moving, everything is vibrating, everything's always changing, evolving, decaying, doing whatever it's doing. But there's just one point, or a pointless point.
A pointless point. There you go.
That's
That's what the Zen call it. They call it a gateless gate.
just defined by its nothingness. Like there's something constant about me, even though my body might get old and decay and die and whatever. There's something constant about me that's always there and never moving.
So this is what science has tried to find in looking into the world. A fundamental. You know? First of all, it was atoms. So everyone's built on this fundamental atomic stuff.
Particles before the atoms.
Was it?
We didn't even have atoms.
Right.
It was particles, and then we
Science.
go, oh, there's an atom.
But science has shown that there's no reference point. That's not the still thing in this universe. Even the atom is constantly moving and jumping around. Einstein blew away that time and space is our constant. Because that, for physics, they thought, well, time has to be a constant. That's fixed, and so is space. That's fixed. Whereas Einstein's equations blew that out of the water. So science had nothing to hold on to in the way of anything fixed or still. Whereas this Eastern philosophy gives you this grounding in your very existence. Rather than objective knowledge, it's the ground of your existence. It's who you really are, as they say. And it is still, and it is yeah.
It's so interesting.
I'm glad you got to the no stillness. What did you say?
The pointless point.
Pointless point. 'Cause it's not a point. You can't objectify
No,
it. As soon as you
point to it and say that's it, then it's not there.
it's yesterday. It's the moment before.
It's like when the scientists point to an electron and say, there's an electron right there. The moment they observe it, disappears, reappears in another dimension, and then comes back in a different place, and they just go, shit.
Yeah.
Can't prove anything.
Chogyam Trungpa has got one of my favourite quotes. He says, the bad news is we're all free-falling without a parachute. And he says the good news is there's no ground. Yeah, so that sort of explains what I'm trying to get at.
So just relax and enjoy the ride.
That's one way of putting it. Alan Watts just says, yeah, just to learn how to flow with things, you've got to jump in and dance. That's the best way.
When I'm working with clients, like business clients, and you're trying to get them to change their mindset because they've got a mentality of, I'll invest in property but I'll never buy shares, or I'll do this but I'll never do this, and I won't do this in my business. And I'm trying to say, okay, we're going to try a new technique. Before you try a new technique, you've got to expand your mindset to just even believe that technique is possible. And a lot of people, they make a few dollars and they want to hang on to it, and they don't share it, and they don't send it out and say, well, this is how the universe works. Like if you got an apple and you ate the entire apple, seeds and stalk and everything, then you're stuffed. That's it. But if you eat 90% of the apple and you get the middle 10% and you plant it in the ground, then there's going to be a couple of apple trees pop up and grow, and that's how things flow and how things go. Getting them to change their mindset about relaxation, meditation, and what is one within us. Oh, I forgot to turn on the aeroplane. Sorry about that shit. That's not going anywhere.
Yes, that's right.
Anyway, I did have a really good point.
Can I jump in there? Because I look, when you meditate, it's not just finding concentration or stillness, it's actually uncovering this awareness. And this awareness is has an aspect to it called prajna, or wisdom, or intelligence. It has its own intelligence. So when you can tap into this and come from this position, whatever you do, you're going to be more aware of what's beneficial and what's not beneficial. The term vipassana, which is a popular meditation term, translates as clear seeing. So you clearly see someone, something, anything. So in Jeremy's case, I'm not going to say meditation saved his life and changed everything, but you can see things differently. You can see that eating well, and it's quite obvious. I mean, most people know that eating well is better than eating McDonald's or whatever, but what stops you from doing that? So it just becomes glaringly obvious what's good for you and what's bad for you, and what's good for others and what's bad for others, when you're hurting yourself, when you're hurting others. So this type of prajna comes with a very sensitive type of intelligence that helps you move in life. So it's not just an abstract, detached spacing out, but very practical for your existence and daily life.
We had a chat about that the other day. And since I've been going on this journey, instead of talking to stockbrokers and mortgage brokers and financial planners, I've been seeking out different people. And I actually got to talk to a Rosicrucian and got to talk to the leader of the Knights Templar in Queensland, and some of these mystical, magical people. And the Knights Templar is like kind of a quasi-religion, but they have this thing: do whatever you want, like do what thou wilt is the whole of the law. And the first time I saw that, I'm like, oh my God, these guys are Satanists. Like, just do whatever you like. You know, murder babies and rape people and steal their money and do whatever you like. But after studying meditation for a long time, I just go, well, when I'm really in touch, when I strip away all of this rubbish and societal belief systems, that sort of stuff, then there is one law. You do whatever makes you happy. And because I know that, you know, if Chad annoys me, I might want to punch him in the face. That's what makes me happy in that split second. But having the knowledge and the conscious awareness that I'm not going to feel good about that tomorrow or the next day or the next day. You know, it doesn't actually feel good to do nasty things to people. And with these guys, they say, do whatever you want. That's the law. But if you do that with absolute love and absolute knowledge that you am I and I am you, all of that wanting to harm other people just strips away. So, I mean, I didn't stop eating meat because I cared about killing the Barlams. Barlams were born on a farm to die on a farm. That's the reason they came into existence. I gave up meat because I just wanted to be healthier. But having given up meat, your thinking changes, your hormones change. You don't have that fear and the trepidation inside of you. And you just feel more compassionate. And the less you eat meat, the less you want to eat meat. You know, it just feels good. It feels good to be loving and kind towards other people.
So, would you say, because all of these things, and you both mentioned different ways of being happy, would you say that this becoming aware and this relaxing into yourself and that wonderful clarity is stepping away from fear? Because we live in a fear-based society, and this seems to be the challenge that keeps people from being happy, or just, you know, just, yeah.
Very much so. Jeremy's trains people to have better finances and better health, and helps them with that sort of thing.
Our society is run on fear, though, isn't it? Like I was saying before about the apples, like you eat one apple and you plant it, and 300 more apples will grow. And if you have a cow and you get another cow, then you can have 10 cows. So it's just, the world works on abundance. You plant one piece of corn and then 50 pieces of corn pop up. But on the TV they go, oh, we've only got 60 iPods left and you have to act now and it's running out and closing down sales. Fear, 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 I'm going to miss out unless I jump in right now. And our whole society is, like, the economy is run on that fear. You know, what drives the stock market? Fear and greed. You know, it's like, oh, I better jump in now because I'm going to miss out, or I better jump out now because everyone's jumping out. And fear just seems to be, we're always constantly attacked with fear. And you watch most of the ads and things like that, they're on the fear of, you have to buy this product, otherwise you're going to get sick and die. Or you have to buy this product, otherwise no one's going to like you. And unless you have this beautiful thing done to your face, you're not going to get a girlfriend or whatever it is.
Have you heard of the Indian philosopher Jiddu Krishnamurti?
Yes.
Krishnamurti?
Yes.
He said, and he's a huge academic, he loves to debate and quarrel, his books are voluminous, but one day he was sitting down in front of a crowd and he said, all right, you want to know my secret to happiness? All right, everyone listen. And everyone after, 3-hour lecture is like, yeah, what is it, and he said, I don't mind what happens. And that was like one of the most popular quotes I have on my Facebook site. It gets around, it's as simple as that. And that's got to do with the fear thing. When you get to that place where you're comfortable, no matter what's happening, this the type of happiness that we're talking about is not the dualistic type, which is valid. It's much better to be healthy than unhealthy in a physical sense. But we're talking about a type of happiness that can't be contaminated by physical appearances, because its very nature is non-physical.
This is where you get into the still point, which I'd also call the soul or the consciousness or the energy that never dies. Because, like we say here, okay, if I didn't have food for 3 or 4 days, I'm going to start feeling hungry. If I didn't have food for a month, I'm going to die. If I don't have any water for a couple of days, I'm going to die. If I don't have any oxygen for more than 5 minutes, I'm going to die. So there's this still like a scarcity. I must have these certain things. But you try and understand, what does the soul think? Because the soul doesn't need food. It doesn't need oxygen. It doesn't need water. it doesn't understand that if you hold your head in the sink for 10 minutes that you're not going to be there, because the soul's still going to be there after you die. It's going to go to heaven or go into another body or go into another animal, whatever you believe, but it's still going to be there. So it doesn't actually understand scarcity at all, because to it there's never a shortage of anything. Whereas to us in our physical body, we need blood and we need air and we need this. So when you get right down to it, like, you can understand some of the Tibetan Buddhists who just say, I don't need anything. I don't need an iPod. I don't need to know where my next meal's coming from. I don't need to go to the shopping centre and buy something in order to feel happy, because I'm just eternal. I'm just always here.
I think you have to break it up too, because some people get the impression when you talk like this that someone who meditates or touches this place, never afraid, never angry, perfect in the dualistic sense.
Like you.
No. The competent think I was perfect.
When you got the speeding ticket, they didn't think you were perfect. Well, I'm sure you handled it. You didn't get cranky and.
No, I got cranky. Yeah. But it's that's in the spiritual community. People are like that. Oh, you got angry. It's sort of like you failed. You got angry. Whereas from this fearless position, that center, you fearlessly watch yourself being afraid, or you fearlessly watch yourself getting angry. But it's like the weather. The clouds come, they rain, they pass. They don't leave a stain in the sky. So you remain the sky behind everything happening. But I think just being human, as Jeremy started to point out, we need to eat and things happen. I think on even just a physical survival human level, we're going to have fear. If someone threatens our life, we're going to be afraid, and that doesn't mean we're not spiritual. It just means we have a human capacity, we have biology, we have chemicals that react. It doesn't mean you have to come from that place or react to that place or blame other people for making you afraid. You can always come from a still point, but you can be very spaciously watching yourself get upset or whatever. And I think the key to spiritual practice is how quickly it drops. To be fully in the moment. The Zen way of doing it is just do everything perfectly. Do this, do breakfast perfectly, do your cup of tea perfectly, completely, wholly. Put it down, do your anger perfectly, perfect anger. You do everything completely. You don't hold back. You be authentic, and you're still coming from that still point.
I love how you get the observation in there, and this is something you've been doing obviously a lot longer than I have. But just becoming aware of your body, and when someone does something that ticks you off, and then you feel yourself, you're aware of, oh, my shoulder's just punched up. I just felt tension in my body. I just felt the adrenaline release into my bloodstream, and now my heart rate's gone up. And you can feel yourself getting angry. And when you're aware of it, you're watching it, then you can control it. But when you're in it, you're not aware that you're overreacting until afterwards. You go, oh, gee, I might have said something or done something, or I'm sorry I broke the piano over your head. But being aware of that in the moment rather than afterwards. And this is like feeling the body for me is a big one.
Oh, that's one of the main, especially with therapy. Being able to, in therapy they say people just can't handle the feelings in their body, so they react violently. But you learn in meditation to hold things in your body quite comfortably. Pain, anger, and just give it space. Whereas usually people just have to react. And like you were saying, someone pisses you off, you get angry, you feel this. If you're in your still point, you realise, well, he said that, and then I thought this, and because I have this belief, that made me react and defend myself or prove. So you get to see the chain reaction, as they say in Buddhism, to what made this bodily sensation. Usually we just blame the other person. But when you can take responsibility and say, well, it's probably because I have that opinion, or because I've had that experience in my past, and someone else has ticked me off like him, or I don't like that type of person, or you realise it's coming from your own being, and then you can work with that, and it becomes workable. Whereas so from the outside, people might not even know that you're working on your anger or working on whatever, because you might seem to be angry or flustered, but people might have 40 years of experience before they come to meditation. All that just doesn't get wiped clean, and you become some sort of homogenous saint that chants all day or something, There's many different types of people.
So there's no water pill you can take and just instantly?
Well, there is, but not everyone. It's this non-dual teaching, but not everyone who does this is a good teacher, Somebody else might be a fantastic musician. Who's to say Jimi Hendrix or some of these great musicians weren't enlightened? But they weren't doing what we would think would be enlightened.
He was enlightened by a big pill, I reckon.
Well, he was taking pills, wasn't he? So there is that, and people have taken drugs to have transcendent states too, and that's part of the spiritual journey as well. So these teachings that I teach, kind of they were secret for a long while because of what Jeremy's saying is that, you can do anything, and it gives ethical license to be unethical. So that's why in the past they've been secret. They haven't told anybody. You need to be under the counsel of a teacher who can guide you. And also, you can have a glimpse of Satori, and then you think, I can do whatever I like. I've found my core. There's nothing that can harm me. But you're not really centered in it yet. So then you go out and you come from your ego and you do a whole bunch of nasty stuff and just intellectually justify, but I can't be harmed. So until you stabilize within this center and have that intelligence coming forth, you still can trick yourself, and there's many pitfalls in spirituality, particularly in the higher stages, I think. There's lots of little tricks. Like they say that pride's the last one. They say a meditator up in a cave in Tibet, he's been there for 10 years, he's reached all these sublime states of realizations and consciousness, and then he just has that thought, you wait to the villages, see what I can do, and you wait till my Lama hears about this, he's gonna, I'm going to be known for years. Boom, it's gone. You've centralized back into an ego. You're not in that spacious, no self place. So there's always a danger of the ego taking over and owning what you've just achieved, or basically taking it personally. People, it's easy not to take harmful words personally. Like if I say, Jeremy, you're fat or something, or that's a bad one. I'm not good at criticisms, but if I if I criticize Jeremy, you don't know what you're talking about, whatever. But if I call you enlightened, he's like, that guy knows what he's talking about, So
there is that danger then when you acknowledge someone and really appreciate their energy, then it can become a whole I think that wanting to focus on this, and then they find that their egos, they're leaning more into the, people think I am the light, and that's totally cool. I am the light, bitch, I'm the light.
Exactly.
And then it's like, and so let's just back off a little.
Well, it's like Alan Watts talks about this. He says, in the West, if we say, I discovered that I am God, you'll end up in a psychiatric ward, pretty quickly. In the East, in India, if you say, I've discovered I'm God, they'll say, about time.
Be still and know that I am God. That's kind of it.
I had to share this story with you because we were talking about music, and it's just such a lovely story that I got from a book that was written by a musician about teaching or finding probably a very meditative approach or spiritual approach to finding the musician within you, one that can really play, not just technically, but can really play the music. And there's this lovely story about in a Chinese village back in the day, there was a travelling flute master who would come through and he would just sit and the village would gather around and he played, and the old men, the elders of the village sat back and went, yes, like a god. And there was this young man who just thought, this is amazing, I want to play like this. So he approached the master and said, please, let me play. You will have to give up everything. I will do that. You'll have to work and study and train and get frustrated, and you might even fail. I'll do it. I'll do whatever it takes. Okay, so he studies and studies and studies and studies and studies until finally the master says, I've taught you everything I can. But master, I still can't play like you. Well, there it is. Now you must go out and you must play, because only you can find the way to play now.
Yeah.
So he goes out and he gets really frustrated because he's going, damn it, I gave up everything because I wanted to play. I've given it my all. Oh well. So he goes off and he goes out and he starts to play through the town and through the countryside, and just travels and plays and travels and plays, and as he travels and plays and just settles into that, he becomes older until finally he wanders into a village as an old man, and he sits down and he plays and the village gathers around, and the elders of the village sit there and they say, yes, like a god. It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just such a full circle that he just had to give let go of everything, including himself, to be able to come into that.
It's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Perfect analogy. Metaphor. Beautiful. That's why at the start I said meditation is studying yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why when you start to speak to people, you realise everyone's got a bit of wisdom. You know, and whatever field they're in, they understand themselves and they understand these deeper issues and whatever. And before you know it, they're telling you the type of wisdom that I studied from Eastern mystics, sort of thing. That story, exactly. The last stage of meditation is you've got to give up the teachings, you've got to give up the meditation, you've got to give up the teacher. All forms, you've got to give it all up. And that's hard when you've been devoted to something and your books have been your treasure for 50 years or whatever. Burn them, you know, get rid of them. You've got to find your own path.
That was interesting going into Vipassana, because I went there to very much thanks to a crisis time in my life.
Did you do the full 10 days?
Yeah. And there's a lot of other people who are going through some crap, and I sort of turned out there's the lowest point I've ever been. Like I was literally going to throw myself under a bus, and there was other people there who were just hanging on to like their crucifix or their rosary beads or their little picture of their Sai Baba or something like that. And they didn't want to give it up. You had to give up everything. You couldn't have a crystal, you couldn't have a crucifix, there was nothing. It's like, we're about to throw you in the water and you can't even have a piece of straw to hang on to.
They take your passport off you, your car keys.
Everything. You have to give up everything, and you've got to face your own demons. And you haven't got your beads, you haven't got your little symbols or your rituals or your anything. And they even say, because I'd been studying hypnotherapy before I went in there, they said you can't use any of those techniques here. Other people who have studied other forms of meditation, you're banned from doing that for 10 days. You know, you can't even masturbate for 10 days. Like if you found somewhere, you're not allowed to talk to them, but
you're not allowed to read?
No, you're not allowed to read.
I found myself reading the shampoo bottle for some entertainment, you know. I found it stimulating. I started to read.
The inside of my clothes, when I went to the toilet, I could read hand wash dark colours separately. Like that was the only
You realise everything that distracts you, you know, the myriad of things that distracts you during the day.
Giving up everything. And then like I was saying to Sheedy the other day, like I do my meditation every day, but I've always got my red blanket. It's the red blanket I took to Vipassana. I meditate every day with my red blanket. That's about the only constant thing
You're blanking.
that I've had. When I first started, it was really cold, so I had 4 blankets, and I gradually went down to 2. And in the summertime now, I have one blanket. That's been my constant. And these guys, but like giving up their little rituals and their trinkets. And one day after we finished the 10 days, he said to me, "I know we weren't supposed to do our own meditation, but I've been doing this Zazen meditation here and just not telling anyone." I'm like, dude, what's the point? Like, you could have done that any time. You're here to work and learn this thing and really throw yourself into it. But he just couldn't give up that last one thing. I gave up everything, you know. I mean, me being suicidal was because of an attachment to my daughter who was taken away from me, and then just go, okay, why am I so upset about that? Why am I letting that affect me? Why am I letting that push my buttons? Because it was just some other 10-year-old kid, and I'd met that 10-year-old kid, and like a 10-year-old kid, and couldn't see them ever again. I'd go, oh yeah, that was sad. And I'd move on with my life. It was my attachment because she's mine, she's my creation, she's my thing. And you know, when you lose a partner or something like that, why should I be more emotionally attached to Evie than I am to you or to Zach or to anyone else? You know, if you just say, look, compassionate, I love little bar lambs and I love little, you know, mosquitoes and I love other people. But if I'm totally suicidal when one person's taken away from me, I've got issues. And I'm here to remove those issues and become aware of them.
So it's liberating, obviously, to let go.
Oh, yeah. And letting go of what other people think of you.
So this is that's the biggest one. But that's often the piece that you find, you think you've discovered something objective, but it's actually you've just been carrying something around for so long, and then you put it down, you're like, that feels great. But it's the absence of something that you're feeling. It's not actually an objective, now I'm spiritual. You know, it's just that relief.
You were born like that. Like when you were 1 year old, if one of your parents died and your other parent remarried, you kind of like wouldn't really notice. There was someone in the house and now there's someone else in the house.
Yeah.
We get all this societal construct of I need my iPad, I need my partner, I need this, I need that, I need something else. Letting it all go is just. I felt like I was a child again. You know, I went in there depressed, suicidal, middle-aged, about to die, and when I came out. Well, it wasn't even me who came out, it was someone else, but I was 5. Seriously, I was 5. I was just like, oh my God, look at that cloud up there, and oh, look at that thing. Wow, look, there's an ant's nest. And it was just so exciting.
Oh, you're right.
I literally came back from Vipassana, unpacked my Vipassana bag, packed my other bag, and went to Africa for a month. And everything was exciting and new and just brilliant.
And this is, the Vipassana he's talking about is this 10-day retreat.
Yes.
Very strict. It's 8 to 10 hours of meditation a day for 10 days. All that stuff about giving everything up. You're not allowed to make eye contact with anyone. Looking at the ground. The male and female are separated generally. Is that your, yeah, very, very difficult. They're doing that in prisons now all around the world. And I saw a documentary of it done in India. And India is apparently one of the toughest jails in the world. It's, pretty slum type conditions, and the prisoners were saying it was one of the toughest things they've done to sit for this 10-day Vipassana, and they were the prison mates, and they'd also come out of this Vipassana and they had a lineup and they were all hugging the prison warden, and it was the most beautiful thing to see. These hardened type guys come out softened, hugging the warden, saying it's transformed them. A lot of them didn't make it, saying it was the hardest thing I've ever done. So, this stuff
You
can
get
be...
mass murderers who go into prison because they've killed 50 people, and then you're in maximum security, and it's pretty tight, it's pretty barbaric. And then if you kill someone in prison, the ultimate thing, the worst thing they can do, worse than even beating you or electrocuting you, is they'll put you in solitary. And you can't talk to anyone for 10 days. And you're just facing your own demons, you've got nothing to watch but your own thoughts in your own head, there's no books, there's no TV, no one to talk to. That's the worst punishment they could ever give you in the maximum security prison while you're already inside there. And this is what we volunteered to do. Like, I'm going to have 10 days of solitary confinement, not even looking at another person or raising my eyebrows and going, hey, how you doing? Can't do any of that. Just 10 days with your own thoughts.
But the difference is, don't you think, that it's you in focus, in control, making that choice rather than, because that seems to be, to me, the thing that discombobulates people most is when they feel like they don't have control over their lives, and a lot of the decisions and the attachments that they develop is to give them a feeling of control.
Trying to control things is stressful. Realising that you can't is liberating. It gives you a certain amount of control, but it also gives you a certain amount of acceptance that you can't control most things. No one wants to get old and wrinkly and die. You can't control that. You can't control, no matter how healthy you are, you could go out there and get hit by a car and have, be in hospital for months. You can't control life. Life is quite random, as much as we, in the West particularly, try to sanitize life and control it and pigeonhole it and make it safe, health and safety for everyone. It's just not. And this is a big part of it because you come from that fearless place. But also this place of acceptance that this stuff is perishable, but there's something within me that's not perishable, sort of thing. So, yeah, controls. Meditation is more about acceptance than control. In fact, there's one teacher, Ajahn Shanti, who says meditation is taking your hands off the wheel and letting go of control. And that, again, that's the release of thinking, I have to make sure my life's right, I have to make sure my family's life's right, I've got to make sure I get my job, I've got to make sure I save up for this. You try and control everything. Whereas meditation, I know it might sound cliche, but it's sort of going with the flow. And it's that flow of prajna or wisdom that comes from contacting it daily, that you learn to be informed and moved around by rather than your anxiety or your fear.
The fear there that if I take my hands off the wheel, I'm going to lose my job, I'm going to lose my family, I'm going to lose my house, I'm going to lose my stuff. But then there's some people who wander around and literally like the walking Bikas, what's his name? Bika? I don't know, that guy, the Buddhist guy. And he's
That was walking down from Cairns.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's just got a robe and he's got his beads and he's got his bowl. And that's it. And I've met some other people, like one lady who stayed with us for a while. She was just travelling around Australia and she had no job and she had no money. She managed to somehow, like someone gave her a van and she just left. And she was just travelling around. And I just thought, wow, I've got to meet this chickie, come and stay in my house for a week, because she just lived going with the flow and these amazing things would happen to her. Like something happened and she had registered a website name and she never did anything with it. She's like, oh, I want to start this business, and then never did. And then someone else started another business and went, I want to buy your website name. She paid $10 for it. This person said, I'll give you $30,000. And she's like, cool, there's my money for the next few months. And these wonderful things just happened because she'd taken her hands completely off the wheel. And you hear stories about people like that who just got nothing lined up and they just walk from one wonderful thing to another. But we're so scared of, oh my God, like I haven't got next week's grocery money, or I haven't got next week's rent, or I haven't got whatever. We're just too afraid to let go, and so we never experience any of those serendipitous moments and that sort of stuff. I'm sure you've had something.
Yeah, well, they become just natural. You know, you don't make a big deal out of it. It's sort of like.
But to other people, like if you tell someone else what's happening in your life, they would just go, magic.
But then again, people objectify it as well. I hear people saying, you know, 20 years ago I met this person and it was like this, and it's like the big spiritual event, you know, but that's not being in the flow, that's telling the same story for 20 years, you know, so when things happen you've got to drop them as quickly and as magically as they happen to get into the flow again. But serendipity, the flow, we think we can control it as egos, but that's an illusion, and this prajna has that harmony of the whole, because we are connected to the whole, connected to each other, connected to the environment. There is some sort of organising principle that people have called God in the past. In the East, they're more likely to call it an impersonal type of Tao, or wisdom flow, or Chi. But it's a central type of harmony that comes when you leave things alone. Like, we don't have to build forests. You know, we just plant the right trees. They emerge themselves. The creatures come and they create an ecosystem, and that's what life does. And life also creates diversity and complexity too. So not everyone's the same. So when you have these realizations, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to drop out and get a combi van or whatever. You know, you could be Steve Jobs and, you know, transform the business world or something. Or who knows? There's no recipe. There's no knowing.
Even Steve Jobs had no attachment. Like you see in his autobiography, there's pictures of his house, and he's got this bare, like no rug, just timber floor. There's a lamp, there's a couch, and there's him sitting in the middle of the floor reading a book. And that's his lounge room. And you think this guy's like a multi-billionaire. He should have every gadget that opens and shuts, particularly because he's in that industry. He's just got what he needs, and that's it.
So when you talked about misconceptions of meditation, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about enlightenment as well. Like an enlightened person from meditating a lot should act a certain way, but that's one of the biggest misconceptions, I think. For instance, the Bhagavad Gita, which is one of the most famous Hindu texts. The main dialogue came from a god, Krishna, giving this teaching to Arjuna, is it, I think, who was on the battlefield, just about to go into war and kill people and whatever. And
kill his brothers.
Some sort of civil war,
were
wasn't
on
it?
the other side of the battlefield, and he said, Krishna, I can't kill them, they're my family. And Krishna said, they're already dead, and here's why. It's cool. And then he tells him the Bhagavad Gita, and then Arjuna says, okay. So I'm just playing out my part in this whole story. They're helping me, I'm helping them, and we're all helping the story. I get it. Okay, let's go. Of a rear heart.
So when you take that into consideration, it's hard to sort of pigeonhole exactly what you should do, the act of an enlightened person. Basically, I think the act of an enlightened person is being completely authentic and appropriate. You know, you learn...
So sometimes it's appropriate to go and kill people? Okay.
Well, see, this is harder. You get into ethical discussions very, very quickly, but they're...
The general approach is do what you like as long as you do no harm. Isn't that?
That's the general approach. And this is where spirituality and even religion sort of have to teach this basic stuff to these people who haven't quite touched on the source. So they say, look, just be kind to each other, just don't kill each other. But funnily enough, when you get to that high status, it's okay to kill each other. And that's why these things were secret, you know, you had to really understand these high teachings. I'm being quite blasphemous in teaching these highest teachings. I got in trouble at my Buddhist centre when I was doing guided meditations and I started to incorporate these teachings because they weren't meant for the general public. I was meant to tell people just to be good to each other and practice compassion and love, and I was teaching these highest teachings without the preparation, spiritual preparation. But
You were teaching like tantric sex stuff?
No. This is even higher than that. They're still dualistic teachings. They still work with energy. So this stuff's even more immediate than that. And it's directly related to the knowledge with a capital K, or the self with a capital S, that comes from the Bhagavad Gita and the Hindu tradition. Because they talk about Brahman being everything, which is consciousness, bliss, and being. And it says that's what everyone is. And that's the highest. And it can't be harmed. things like that. So the very highest of teachings. But then you got to get on in life. Then you got to do the dishes. You know. Then you got to pay the bills and stuff.
I just love how we like. You know, there's in many religions, whether it's Hindu or Christianity or Judaism, like there's this concept of God, and God is everywhere and in everything and all-knowing and can never be created, never be destroyed. And then we get into quantum physics, and they say, well, there's this energy, and energy is inside of everything. It's inside of the cup, it's inside of the atoms, and even the atoms aren't real, they're just vibrating energy, and they're everywhere, and they can never be created, never be destroyed. And go, that's interesting. You're calling it God, you're calling it Allah, you're calling it Jehovah, you call it energy. Cool. You know, same thing. We've recently discovered, you know, quantum physics is now reinforcing what happened 3,000 years ago. It's all vibration, it's all
I think there's a growing number of people, Jeremy and I certainly, like to bring in all the different traditions, you know, rather than be traditional and keep it pure in one lineage. To understand that we're talking about wisdom, human wisdom, not just religious wisdom or sectarian wisdom.
even mindfulness now, like in the Christian tradition of the Bible, they don't talk about meditation so much. There is a few references to meditation, but the same word is also translated as prayer, which is just spiritually focused thought. And you know, Jesus taught his disciples to pray, and this is the way we pray, and we sit down. In Catholic Church, it's kneel down and put your hands together like this, which is actually a yoga pose called dragon breath or something like that. But Jesus said to his disciples, you know, don't just pray in the morning and pray in the evening. Be constantly praying. Be praying while you're walking. Be praying all the time. And like, if you went to a Catholic school and like, well, we pray by kneeling down and going like this, you can't kneel down and put your hands like that all day. But he's talking about constantly meditating, which is what Chad was talking about. Every action, whether you're pouring tea or whether you're having sex or making dinner or going to work, you can be meditating while you're sawing wood.
From a Christian perspective, I think Thomas Merton, one of the mystics, said is like, you know, try and do good whenever you can, stay healthy, study every now and then, but think of God all the time. You know, so that's the most important thing. Whatever you're doing, think of God, and that's the Christian equivalent, I suppose. And that's what mindfulness is that we've forgotten in the West too. It just means to remember. We've turned it into a bit of a therapy and synonymous with awareness in the West. But mindfulness from the East actually means to remember something. So in this moment you remember that awareness, or you remember God, or you remember your manners, or you remember something. So mindfulness is important to bring it into every moment, even if you remember to be aware. But mindfulness is to remember. So mindfulness, and it also means to concentrate, so it's different. Anyway.
But it's like closing the circuit, isn't it? It's that connecting point, mindfulness. Because you're remembering I'm present, I'm aware, or whatever it is, rather than chugging along.
Or remembering that I am God at some level, deep down underneath all of this crap.
Because people say that, we're all God in drag. You know, we're all God pretending to be someone else, and we've forgotten.
Oh, that's funny.
God in drag. I love that.
One of my sayings is underneath our clothes we're all naked.
Yeah, there you go. Ramdas, you know Ramdas? Ramdas said that. We're all God in drag. We're all walking each other home, he also says. But the beautiful greeting, namaste, in India kind of means that, you know, the divine in me recognizes and acknowledges the divine in you. And it's a philosophical basis of a tradition right there.
So, Chad, what do you think of the idea or the approach that everything we do is because we think it will make us feel better or make us happy?
Yeah. I think that's true. I think I think our ego, what we call our ego, is something trying to help us. And actually, I think I probably got the idea from someone else. I'm not sure, but that the ego sort of tries to copy what your prajna can do. It tries to give you freedom. It tries to give you pleasure. It tries to give you heightened intelligence. You know, it's just so limited because it's trying to control and push and force, whereas that stuff happens naturally without having to control, push and force. And this is where the fearlessness comes in. You realise you don't need to do things to feel better or even to be a good person. You're already that. Chogyam Trungpa says that still point is basic goodness. So from that basic goodness, which is in everyone, no matter how murderous they are or horrible, there is that basic goodness within them. So that's another perspective from the East. And when you say we're all God, you know, that's God is kind of goodness as well. We're not talking about something evil here. So yeah, very much if you can connect with that, you're not as neurotic about doing things to feel better, or pleasing people, or getting rewards, or in Buddhism they call them the 8 worldly concerns. When you're concerned about gaining things, when you're concerned about your reputation, when you're concerned about getting pleasure and avoiding pain. Getting pleasure and avoiding pain seems quite fundamental, but when you spend most of your energy doing it, every moment, people get obsessed with comfort. You know, they get obsessed with, if one thing isn't right, I'm not comfortable, you know, so it becomes a neurotic attempt to be comfortable. Whereas the indestructible still point in meditation is always comfortable in any situation.
So
Even
you
an
don't
exciting
need a $3,000 lazy boy recliner chair. You can just get a little
to relax.
meditation stool. How much do you sell a meditation stool for?
Yeah. But everyone upgrades. I've had friends who have plenty of money, and I get their hand-me-downs, and I get regular hand-me-downs. I'm just, you know, a few years behind the times in technology and everything, but they're always upgrading. You know, they always want the next best lazy boy, the next best comfortable lounge, the next, you know. It's kind of cliche in our society. We know that. We're sold that. We're told that. Every commercial is wanting more. So I'm interested in the society side of it, how it promotes neurosis, and how it's very difficult to be healthy in our society because our society promotes competition, and promotes aggression, and promotes things that bring us neurosis. You know, things that stress us out and move us away from connectivity, move us away from our artistic core. Things like that. So that's I study sociology at university, and so Krishnamurti said it's no measure of health to be well adjusted in a very sick society, sort of thing. Whereas most therapy and meditations, and quite often I'm quite critical of, just help you fit in. You know, just help you. You're stressed out at work, do a bit of meditation. You know, you'll be right. Whereas the problem is your job sucks. You know, let's not get too metaphysical about this.
So
You
you're
don't
coming
have
from
to
a low point and then saying, okay, if you just lift the game a little bit, then you'll be the same as everyone else. But you want to sort of supersede that and go, well, how freaking happy could I be? Like, how enlightened could I possibly be? Is there a level 1 to 10, or does it go up to 56?
Or does it just keep expanding?
Yeah. I read a quote from Bruce Lipton yesterday. Dr. Bruce Lipton, Stanford Medical Center, he said 95% of physical and mental illness is caused by stress. And you go, wow, so it doesn't matter what's wrong with my colon, my spleen, my heart, my lungs, my brain, you know, cancers, tumours, all this sort of stuff is all caused by stress. And stress is fear, fundamentally. So, okay, well, if we can just chill out, we meditate once a day or once a week or whatever, then we'll avoid 95% of illness, we'll avoid being stressed at work or whatever. But then going beyond that and saying, okay, am I just saying I'm happy because I'm the same as everyone else? Or am I just bouncing out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning going, oh my God, I can't wait to get this day started? Like, that's a completely different level. And I'm sure you've seen some stuff with your guys where it's like, okay, yes, I have control of my body, I can sit still for 1 hour without moving. But that's different to, I can lie down on a bed of nails, or I can eat fire, or I can cure someone from pancreatic cancer. That's a whole nother level, isn't it?
So
You haven't done that stuff, right? You haven't healed the sick and raised the dead and walked on water yet?
No, I think we all have healing abilities. That's what our body does naturally as well. Huh? You get a scratch, it heals. And to a degree, everything does that.
Once you remove whatever's stopping it.
Yeah.
I used to have an earring, and it was there for 10 years, 20 years. Once you take it out, the ear closes over. And you're talking about the natural state. Like once we remove our belief system or our crap or our stress or whatever, then the body and the mind.
Yeah, from this way of thinking, we are our own worst enemy. You know? But also, like, I like to bring in society because I don't want to teach people to meditate so they can put up with a crappy relationship or put up with a crappy job or crappy society. You know, I think it's all our jobs to transform society, our families, and ourselves into something better.
If you're on level 3 and your partner's on level 5, and you go, okay, I'm going to meditate up to this level, but then if you kept going, that partner's going to fall away anyway. Like they're going to wake up one morning and go, listen here, hippie, I'm out of here. Like I'm no longer happy with this relationship.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know. There's no recipe. That's what I'm saying. This is going to happen.
I'm sure you could transcend a bad relationship or a bad job.
Yeah, but this is
if you're really happy working in a government department, if you're really happy working in the accountant's firm, I'm sure you'd get sacked. Like, you get promoted to somewhere else.
I'm sure you. Yeah, maybe.
You wouldn't fit in, or you get locked up.
Who knows? Who knows? Who knows when this light gets shone through an individual? It's a special kind of rainbow, you know. It's a special kind of thing, and it's in their context, you know. And we can't, outside of that context, look in and say this will probably happen, or this should happen, or this will happen. It's like, who knows when they contact the light, what will happen? I mean, maybe they might quit, but they might stay in that job and transform the organisation as well, something like that. So, and not everyone can be a revolutionary. I see myself as a bit of a revolutionary. I'd like to just wipe things away and start again because they're so crap at the moment. But not everyone can be like that. You know, there might be anarchy or chaos if everyone was like me. So I have a certain place and role to play, but other people can be more
If there's no
transformative.
societal rules and no religious rules, then would that be anarchy? So,
Well, if everyone, theoretically, if everyone was connected to this still point, you know, this natural intelligence would create harmony.
I do.
But
We didn't argue over whether God's name was Allah, Jehovah, energy, quantum, universe, source, whatever. That'd be like 90% of the war stopped already. So they're mostly religious rather than over resources.
Yes, but then surely go back to why do we create religion in the first place? Isn't it to comfort ourselves and validate that we have a connection with something greater?
I think in a general sense, all religion has emerged for that human need to discover ourselves, to discover something bigger than ourselves, to understand ourselves at its most basic sense. Yeah, it's to understand it. That's where meditation is very spiritual, because you get to understand yourself. Some people are quite cynical. Was it Marx that said religion is just a panacea?
The opium.
An opium of the masses, sort of thing. And that's where I want to move. Like
Religion,
I don't
not
want meditation.
spirituality, though. That's the difference between.
Yes, but so quickly the meditation becomes that. It becomes just another tranquilizer. It becomes another Xanax, another antidepressant, you know, that people just take to get on with a crappy life. Whereas
Less side effects than Xanax, though.
totally. So there is something good about detaching, but in the Zen, there's this movement like you talked about with that guy playing the flute, where you do have to train and kind of remove yourself and detach, but the culmination of meditation is reintegrating, is becoming one with everything. People, I think a misconception, particularly when you talk about the observer and the witness, which is popular, is to think you're completely detached from everything else and nothing can touch you, you're impervious. That's not the type of indestructibility in meditation. It's quite subtle. Because that's just, again, centralizing into some sort of ego type of awareness type thing. Whereas the last movement of meditation is realizing there is no separation between my body, Jeremy's body, this table, my mind, your mind. Everything is happening in this coalescence of energy sort of thing. And I'm responsible for everything in a way. And also responsible for nothing. It becomes paradoxical at a certain stage. You know, you don't take it personally, but it's very personal. You don't get much more personal than meditation because it's about your existence, who you are, where you are. But yeah, I'm very big on reintegrating. You know, you've got to be able to merge that understanding in a pure way back into your existence, your emotions, your thoughts, society, your relationships. Otherwise it can be just a tranquilizer, a quick fix, a cover up, you know, something that get people through trauma but won't really transform them, and it'll become just another blanking they have to go to every time. So yeah, the real power of meditation is being able to integrate it into the world. There's a Zen saying that when I started meditation, mountains were mountains, and then before I started meditating, mountains were mountains. Then I started meditating, mountains weren't mountains anymore, and then I became a good meditator and quite enlightened, mountains were again mountains, sort of thing. And it just shows this journey from where you started back to where you started, but you have a new view of it. You know, when you meditate, you become detached from everything. Nothing exists, but then you're back doing the dishes, or you're back talking to normal people. And things
You live in
exist
Australia
again.
and you go, okay, I've got to go to work, and the beach is crowded, and this is dirty, and that's wrong. And then you travel to a third world country, you go to Indonesia, or you go to Africa, or go to rural China, or something like that. And you go, oh my God, these people living in poverty, and half the world lives on less than $2 a day, and the conditions are like this, and the prisons in India where there's no running water. And then you come back to Australia and go, wow, this is fantastic. The place has changed so much while I've been away.
I have direct experience of the saying that I'm familiar with is before Zen, fetching wood, carrying water. After Zen, fetching wood, carrying water.
Exactly.
You had 5 acres in Sweden.
Oh, yeah.
With this 100-year-old cottage made from hand-formed bricks and the old well pump out the back, and we just went, yes, we're totally going to be self-sufficient. So we grew our own food, we grew our own babies.
Grew your own people.
Chopped down our own trees for firewood, and we really just dove right into the experience. And it's a lot of work. And we would just smile at each other walking past, with the stacks of firewood, bringing them in while someone was, pumping the thing. Like my partner would be pumping, to take the water out to water the food. This had to be our food. Like, we put all our money into seeds and kind of go, if this doesn't work, what are we going to do?
Yeah, right.
And we just walked past each other and went before Zen, after Zen, and kept going. And it was delightful for a while. And then after 5 years, and with growing and evolving and changing needs, and I said, this is great, but I have such a creative need, and this is taking all my time and energy. I need to be doing something more different with my energy. This is not satisfying me on that level. So it was tough to step away from that, because it's such a beautiful thing to live so close to nature.
Yes.
But at the same time, I felt like I wasn't contributing the best thing that I could contribute being here. And I think that's where people get stuck in our Western society by doing what everybody thinks they should do. You go to school and everyone's like, what are you going to be when you grow up? Instead of what are you going to do? Because you already are. You be in every moment. And that's when people get confused, and they feel like they've got to go into these limited boxes and just stay there. And then this lack of happiness keeps bubbling up, and that's where people look for placebos or something to just take away the pain of not
Drugs,
being
alcohol,
happy.
entertainment, TV,
Yeah.
PlayStation.
Or that happiness is fleeting. A lot of people think that's not a constant, that's just a dream. And we're almost told we can't, dreamers fail, that doesn't work, and it's not safe. You've come from a corporate background, I understand.
A normal middle class.
Yeah.
I ran my own business for a little while.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't say corporate, but
You would have had moments of fulfillment and happiness in that.
yeah,
Satisfaction.
For sure.
But you came to a point where you wanted more, something wasn't, what was it?
Well,
You
for me, it
chose-
was the rat race that you're kind of pointing out, the roles that are given to you. My family was not working class and anything, they didn't own their own businesses or anything, and they struggled financially. It was the main, I think it is the main stress on relationships, is money and bills and things. And certainly with my family. So I saw that, I saw it break up my family, this struggle to pay the bills and to get ahead and to have a mortgage. And so for me, I dropped out from all that. It was chasing more, but it was also stepping away. I'm like, this isn't right. I don't want to just get a job and survive like this for the rest of my life. And the more I thought about it, the more I kept doing it. I'm like, no. So that's when I made a decision to leave it all behind and go live in a monastery. So it was a real dropping out for me, which is sort of why I sympathise with what you did, or what the hippies did back in the 70s, and that sort of movement, or countercultural movements that have happened, since the beatniks back in the 50s and 60s and things like that. And I think meditation is I want meditation to be counterculture. Jeremy and I have discussions, and everyone's got their opinions about what it can be, but I want it to be revolutionary. I wrote an article about how meditation is a revolution, and it's one place where you get to be disobedient. There's not many places you get to be disobedient in this world, but when you sit down to meditate, you ignore your thoughts. You ignore your emotions. You learn to sit with them without being controlled by them. Generally, most people are controlled by their thoughts. Most people sit down and meditate. A lot of people do. They get up within 2 minutes because their thoughts told them to. They've got something to do. And people tell me all the time they can't sit down for that long because they obey their thoughts. So you learn to be disobedient to the voice in your head, and that's a kind of breaking away from always doing as you're told. Because that little voice in your head is the internalized authority figure from outside.
Because there's this lovely attraction of being disobedient in our society. It's doing that naughty thing that gives you that little thrill, isn't it?
I don't know if our society, as a human, I think it's natural as a human to want to be free.
Okay.
I don't think there's a teenage years. I think teenagers are just a natural human reaction to an oppressive society. We say, oh, it's just their hormones.
Even toddlers. Yeah, you try telling a 2-year-old to sit still.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think oppression is natural for humans.
I just love
or any animal
being disobedient, because I would say, well, sitting down and meditating, particularly like with Vipassana, you know, you get up at 4:30 in the morning, they sound the gong, and you go and meditate for an hour, and then they ring a bell, and you go and you have breakfast, and then you come back and you meditate for an hour, and then you go and have a shower, and you come back and meditate. And sitting still, like when I wasn't used to sitting still for 1 hour without even uncrossing my legs, that was discipline. That was hard work. You know, I mean, I've stood in bloody army uniform on parade on Anzac Day, and you know, it's hot, and you've got to stand still, and you can't move, and you know, some people faint just from standing still for an hour. Sitting still for an hour, I would say, is a massive amount of discipline, but you say it's disobedience because you're not obeying your thoughts.
Well, we're sort of saying the same thing. Because you're saying the same
You've got a
thing.
fun way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Mine is like, it's hard friggin' work sitting there and not moving, but you're saying, oh, it's fun not to actually follow the distraction. I love Simon Molasses actually calls it blissipline
Discipline.
rather than discipline. And I just love that. It's like you got this blissipline, like you don't move, but you're just having an absolute ball inside of your head, you know. And you don't need drugs, and you don't need alcohol, you don't need someone telling you knock jokes all day. And even in our meditation class, you say like Chad's leading the meditation, and everyone's sitting there and they're getting quiet, getting still. And he says, I distract him because every now and then I just have this really big smile. And I'm not even aware of it. I've been meditating down on the beach sometimes, and once or twice Evie's actually snuck down there at sunrise and taken pictures of me and put them on Facebook, and she goes, you must know I'm there, you must have this sixth sense, this cosmic awareness, because every time I come down and take a photo of you, you smile. That's when I'm actually getting to that zone, like I'm struggle, turn the mind off, and then the mind turns off and I just go,
Good timing. Every time.
the blissipline.
So, because we're approaching the 1000th sunrise, which is very exciting, would you say that there's a particular time of day when it's easier to just center and focus? Like, is there something about sunrise that would help people focus?
Well, traditionally it's pre-dawn. That's the time for meditation. And also dusk and dawn, actually, for some reason, are traditionally meant to be the times of meditation. Personally, I found it, in today's age, when you've got time, I found it if you can set the same time though, every day, it's very good. I have seen science around the magnetic energy of the actual Earth around that time. It helps you meditate. There was some sort of science trying to back up the traditional, because they didn't know that science back then. They just said before dawn was the best time to meditate, and that's when Buddha became enlightened. So I thought it was more, he meditated all night, and then the sun just came up, and that's when he became enlightened. So I was sort of following that tradition. But I just think, I mean, with families, any time that you can have some 20 minutes of quiet time, you know, sometimes that does have to be late at night or very early in the morning for very practical reasons. But in that sense, I'm more practical rather than traditional. But they do say dusk and dawn is the best time, and particularly
That's
before
a
dawn.
Tibetan Buddhist tradition, though.
Buddhist, yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, like say with the Muslims, they turn and face Mecca and pray, which prayer and meditation interchangeable terms as far as I'm concerned. But like they do sunrise and sunset, and a couple of other times throughout the day. Yeah, 5 times a day. The first one is at sunrise and the last one is at sunset. So, maybe because it's in the Muslim tradition, maybe because it's in the Buddhist tradition, maybe it's because it's in these other things. There is a reason for it, scientific reason that's been long forgotten. And we've just got this tradition or religion based on something that was once practical. You know, like the way the Jews washed their hands, or the fact that they weren't supposed to eat pork was actually common sense advice back 3,000 years ago. Now,
So Oprah has got a big organisation behind her, and her organisation meditate every morning and every night, 9 o'clock in the morning and 4:30 in the afternoon. So I mean, for a business organisation, that's perfect. Start the day and end the day with meditation. And she reports how great it is, and everyone's happier, and people want to be at work, absenteeism's going down, and stuff like that. So, but it's regular as well. So I think we've got to fit it into our daily lives. I think so, that's another misconception. I think really that if you can't get up before dawn, you can't meditate. You know, like you've missed your chance because it's daytime. Whereas 20 minutes right now would be hugely beneficial. 20 minutes any time during the day if you can sit and do proper technique and follow something.
And this is something that I think is really important, is that regularity. And I have no idea of why, but I'm interested in why you think the same time, just turning up at the same time makes the difference.
I think it's a number of reasons. I think we do have an internal body clock that wakes us up in the morning without the alarm clock and knows when to. And you're sort of setting your internal clock to meditate at that time, so it's easier to get into a deep state. I think that's one part of it. I think just the discipline kind of shows you. And it shows, New Age people might say, it shows the universe that you're serious. You know, I've set a time, I'm making this an important thing in my life. You know, not just when I can, but no, this block of time is my meditation time. Meditation's important to me, I value it, I'm going to do it. So it kind of shows you discipline, which has an effect. You know, your intentions and your motivation in doing these things will have an effect on your meditation, its momentum over the years. So there's that just discipline side of it. Your body clock. And then this is a little bit different from timing, but just the way you sit, like mudra, your body has like a memory as well. So when you sit in a certain position, your body's like, oh, it's meditation time. So when you sit in the same way at the same time every day, your body will get used to dropping into that meditation, valuing that meditation, and you get your most benefit out of doing it that way.
You teach the mudras, the different ways of holding your hands and doing this sort of stuff. And I mean, I learned a little bit in hypnosis about classical conditioning. Like you ring the bell and then the dogs salivate because you always ring the bell and then feed the dogs. And even in some hypnosis things, it's like touching a certain part on the body and then reinforcing this thought becomes a conditioning thing. I know Tony Robbins teaches like a calming technique, but he says clench your fist a few times and then you repeat this calming mantra. And most people, when they get angry, subconsciously they clench their fists and raise their shoulders. So he associates that every time you're about to get cranky, you're not even realising it. As soon as your fists clench up like that, this little calming thought pops into your mind and it calms you down. I knew when I did the Vipassana, I'm probably never again going to be able to be in this state where I'm disciplined, meditating with 100 people in this little ashram sort of thing. I really want to remember this and I want to get it into my body. And I just decided I was going to hold my fingers as if I was holding a pencil. Because you hold your fingers like that when you're going to write something down that's important. It's not just we're having a conversation, but you said something really valuable, I'm going to write that down. And we didn't have any pens or pencil or anything. I'll sit like this, and I started doing both hands like that. And every day when we were meditating, I'd put my fingers together. And then when I came back, and I'm back in the real world, and I've got to pay the bills, I've got to talk to Evie, I've got all the distractions. As soon as I put those fingers together, it just took me back to the memory of, meditation time. And then afterwards I started to notice, there's a statue of Buddha and Buddha's going like this, or there's a statue of Jesus and Jesus is going like this, and there's like, maybe there's something to this. And I stumbled on it accidentally, but Chad actually teaches there's different ones for different mindsets.
What do you call them? Like a key?
Anchoring.
Anchoring.
Yeah.
But like, if you do a certain thing, it remembers you, or a certain key, like if I say rabbit hole, you'll bust into some hypnotic state. What's that key word or something?
Post-hypnotic suggestion.
Post-hypnotic suggestion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea. Post-hypnotic suggestion is what a mudra is, sort of thing. Yeah, but traditionally it's actually our energy channels. It's from Chinese and Eastern understanding of the way our chi flows through our body. And these mudras promote certain flows of chi through our body as well. So
They connect with the different meridians.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, you can focus it for different purposes. And again, these are dualistic. They're purposeful. You do something, it creates a result. So, and in a way, all of that stuff is in preparation to experience the non-dual meditation, which can't be improved. It's already there, sort of thing.
This is like the yoga warm-up, stretching before you do the meditation.
All of that, yeah. Concentration, samadhi. In Tibet, they've got this whole range of meditation, starting on contemplating on impermanence and how fleeting life is, going towards samadhi and concentration, and then focusing on emptiness and sunyata, and then going into tantra and working with energies. And there's 4 levels of tantra. So you're working with inner tantra, outer tantra, with mudras, with energies, and then you're working with the consort at the highest level, where you have sexual relations and bring meditation into that. But then the highest one,
That's good, just quietly.
so there's this whole, what would you call it, a curriculum in Tibetan Buddhism of meditation that leads you to the point. But this is a whole career. People would spend 20 years, in monasteries doing this and this and that. The traditions that I'm talking about came about for lay people, who were just business people and normal people who weren't monks and nuns, who just like, look, just give me the essence. I haven't got time for all of that other contemplating.
You've done that in 1 hour, though. Because I remember in one of Chad's guided meditations, they're sitting there and he's telling you how to breathe. Like, breathe in this way, here's the timing of the breath. And you get into this kind of almost chanting your breath. And once you're concentrating on that, it's difficult to think about, I need to buy mushrooms and I'm going to pay the mortgage. And you're actually focusing on the breath so much, and you start to get into this meditation state. And then he says, now discard the breathing and just breathe however the hell you like. And you're just like, oh, I was hanging on to this thing. That's the thing that was taking me away from the thought. And now I've actually got to not even think about the breathing. And then you get into this thoughtless state, and you're going, oh, okay, now I'm into this, I'm not thinking about thinking, and I'm not thinking about the breath, and I'm not thinking about that. And then he goes, and then forget that you're even meditating. And I'm like, what? How can I do that? But it's just, yeah. Discipline, and then the discipline, and then the complete disobedience. And it's like, whoa. We've had some amazing experiences of just like, I don't know, like astral traveling and being outside of the head and outside of the body, and this stuff that I think some guys might sit in a cave and meditate for 9 years, but then you find someone who has, and they can teach you how to do that in 1 hour. And like for me, like doing the Vipassana meditation, it was 10 days of disciplined meditation to let go of a few things. And it took me the 9th day, I actually had this detachment from things, and I could be one with all things at the same time as you detach from things. I go, wow, I actually get it. But it took me, like 18 hours a day for 9 days to get that. And then when I came back from Vipassana, I was doing an hour in every morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon. And it took me an hour to get back into that state. Like I'd be sitting there 55 minutes breathing and trying not to think. And then the last 5 minutes of my meditation would be, oh, I'm back in that state. But after I've done that a lot, 563 sunrises, I could get there in 20 minutes because I knew where I was going. It became easier and easier. I guess it's like the first time you join the gym, you see there's a 100-pound dumbbell and you go, oh, and you can barely get it an inch off the ground. So you go, oh shit, I'm going to go back to the 5-pound and the 10-pound. But after a year, you can actually pick up that 100-pound dumbbell. So this one, but you can actually take people there because you've been there. You know the shortcut to getting to the 9th gate.
Well, the mystic tradition I call it is the mystic tradition that comes from Tibet. It's called Dzogchen, and it's called the Great Perfection. So you're finding what's perfect already, is like what I say. But basically we've got to do all this breathing and focusing and letting go just because to calm everything down, because we're holding ourselves up. So eventually we finally relax. It does get people a lot of time. It takes people a lot of time to relax, and then they're like, well, there's peace and quiet already there. When I actually stop, and it takes a while to stop. Most people can't just stop. It'll take them half an hour. On these 10-day Vipassana courses, I know a lot of people report it's not till the 3rd and 4th day of meditating for 8 hours, until their mind slows down. It literally takes 4 days of sitting in silence for 8 hours a day till their mind slows down. So, but then that's only to see what's underneath it. Once your mind starts up and you've got the confidence that is underneath it, you can dwell there, sort of thing. It's like, once you know there's a blue sky and space out there, even if you know there's clouds, you know there's a sky behind it. But actually the sun is the example. Even though that there's clouds there, you can't see the sun, you know it's there because you've seen it. And that's like meditation. You see the sun, so even though you're having cloudy days or bad moods, you can reconnect with that source, the sun, more easily. It's there all the time, whether you're in a good mood or a bad mood.
I like the thing you said one day in meditation, is just gradually removing these distractions and then waiting for that silence to appear, like the gap in between the words rather than listening to the words. And there was a thing you said, like imagine there's like 3 guys playing the violin, but you're in the middle of a Guns N' Roses concert. And you can see them playing the violin, but you can't hear anything because it's all this blah, 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 blah. And then after an hour, Guns N' Roses stops playing and you can actually hear the violin and you just go, wow, that's been there the entire time. I just didn't notice it.
That wasn't me. That was Tom Cronin's as an example like that.
Okay, I thought it was you.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's funny in guided meditations. I ask people, "How did you go afterwards?" or whatever, and they say, "I really loved what you said about this and that," and I'm like, "Why did you say that?"
So that's something that they've collected along the way, that the experience has reawakened for them.
We're going to have to record it and play it back because possibly Chad did say it. He just wasn't aware because he was channeling.
There is that too. I try to be as authentic as possible. From even early times of taking meditations, I would never read. I hated just reading a book. So I'd always try to freestyle it, so to be more genuine, authentic from the heart. Yeah. So yeah, there is a chance I could have said it and I forgot, but it just amazes me. And different people's experiences. Everyone's different. I love to hear. Some people do go off with the fairies, they astral travel. That's not the point of meditation. But that's fine.
It's a lot of fun, though. I mean, I know when I came back from Vipassana, and Evie's not listening, so I can tell this story.
Oh, you got her attention by saying that.
In Vipassana, you're learning, like, the breath is the first thing. Like, you focus on the breath. And all meditation, all martial arts will start off there. There's power in the breath, and you become aware of this thing that you're doing all day, every day, even while you're asleep, even while you're unconscious. It's happening. You're just not aware of it. And you become aware of the breath. And once you're aware of it, then you can start to control it. And if I was getting cranky because of something's happened, someone's cut me off in traffic, become aware that you're only breathing shallow into your chest and you're breathing quickly. And if I was running a sprint, I would be breathing quickly into here because I know I've only got 10 seconds to get to the 100-metre line. If I was running a marathon, I'd be breathing deeply into the bottom of my belly. And then when you get into a situation where you want to be intimate with another person, you become aware of your breath and go, okay, do I want this to be a 10-second sprint? Or do I want this to be an hour-long marathon? You know, have I got time before work this morning or what time of the day it is? Once you become aware of that, and for me, just controlling the breath, going, okay, I can see how these tantric guys say, yes, we had sex for 9.5 hours, because for me, just controlling the breath, very, very different reactions physiologically. You know, it's a sprint or it's a marathon just by controlling that.
Well, breathing together.
Yeah. But you don't necessarily need to tell the other person you were doing it. You know,
That is a technique though as well, when you synchronise your breath.
That's very cool. Again, not the purpose of meditation, but just one of the wonderful side effects.
Just thinking about breath, something that I've noticed when people are doing something where they're really kind of focused and concentrated on that thing, their breathing really slows down and actually becomes quite loud, so that you can hear it in the room. You know, so I was watching. I'd noticed it because I've been watching my children, and when they were really involved in something, they were, you know, nothing else existed, and they were doing this thing. They had this amazing breathing, and then I noticed it in an adult, and he was learning to knit for the first time. So someone had already taught him the basic technique, but he was sitting and really concentrating on lining up all of those things. And the whole room just had this breath going through it. And I was delighted. I thought, wow, that's fantastic. You know, this is, and then I started noticing it was not so much in myself, because then you kind of come out of it, don't you? But I would find, oh man, I'm doing this breath thing. That's so cool. So that, you know, it just kind of brings you in. And
Breath is, like Jeremy was saying, breath's key, I think, too. Yeah, I mean, being an athlete as well, like you were saying, breath is key. It tells you so much about your current state, so you can learn from your breath. You can control. It's one of those few things in your body that you can both control and let happen naturally. And that's why in meditation I try to go from that point where you are controlling your breath, and then you go to a point where, okay, let go of control now. So you're consciously letting go of control of your breath. And that is really difficult, because once you start watching your breath, it's really difficult not to control it. Anything that we put our attention on, we sort of want to control and manipulate, but just to be with it is very difficult. So it's a really important skill in meditation, is to work with your breath. And like Jeremy was saying, it's there every moment of the day. The other skillful thing about the breath is that when it slows down, you're watching your breath, so your mind has an object, which is like an anchor. But when you breathe, at the end of the out-breath, and you start to get really calm, your breath sort of stops for a while, and you wait for the next in-breath. You might only have a few breaths a minute. So you lose your anchor for a little while. You've got your anchor, you're breathing in, breathing out, you're focusing on something, and then it's gone. It's like, well, what am I focusing on? So this is a skill of meditation training, is you learn to go from mindfulness with an object to just pure, I am present and aware. So the breath is something really skillful to be able to work with, to be able to watch and stop. So it's a really good segue into non-objective meditations. You can lead people on more subtle states. And breath is the quickest way to calm yourself down. Count to 10. Count 10 breaths before you do anything. Take a deep breath. All these things are...
Mum always used to say that. If you correctly count to 10, take a deep breath, count to 10, and then react.
Valuable wisdom. You know, just because it's coming from our grandmothers and mums, it doesn't mean it's not coming from lamas or saints, but it's valuable wisdom.
If you slow your breath, it also slows down your heart rate as well.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. Being a tennis player, I had to really watch my breath and slow it down, control it. Yeah, recover. It's key. Yeah. This is why I meditate. Yeah. And this is why another way of saying meditation. Two types of meditation. You could say there's worldly meditation and there's spiritual meditation. You could be doing exactly the same thing, but one is for a purpose of understanding your deep nature, your deep spiritual nature, and embodying that. Another one is to improve your tennis game, or improve your performance at work, or improve your sexual performance, or something like that. You can use these meditative techniques for worldly things. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different goal.
Grab the attention.
So yeah,
I'm going to meditate for world peace, or I'm going to meditate so that I don't punch the boss in the face.
So this is another misconception that all meditation has to be spiritual, because meditation certainly is practical to the ground. It's practical and can help you with just worldly things, relationships. I mean, they're worldly in a sense, but they're real, very real. You know, we've got to deal with our bosses and our partners and our families and all that. So your intentions to what you want to achieve can make a big difference.
Absolutely. It defines the route, really. Yeah, it defines the goal. Speaking of goal, 1,000 sunrise. I mean, we wake up every day, so if we all started counting, everyone could count. But to celebrate something where someone's just been really focused, we were asking Jeremy about, when did you know, or when did you set that as a goal? And he kind of fell into it and decided, oh, wow, I'm wrapping those up. It might be nice to just tick off that moment and to share that with everyone, which is really fun.
I think I was up to about 500 before I even realised that this is my thing now. It's just, I mean, most people are into a habit, like they wake up in the morning and they have a shower and then they have breakfast. Or some people wake up in the morning and they have breakfast and then they have a shower and a shave and then they go to work. It's just, the thing that you do is your little routine. And I mean, I decided actively after doing Vipassana, I wonder how long I can keep this meditation thing up for, waking up at 4:30 in the morning, because that became my routine while I was up in the mountains. And then when I came back, I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, it's like, it's dark, everyone's asleep, like not just Evie's asleep, but the whole neighbourhood's asleep, there's nothing going on anywhere. And I lived like a block and a half from the beach, so I've been on the beach. Maybe there's something interesting washed up on the beach last night, or it'll be peaceful down there or whatever. So I just went down there and it was nice. And it was quiet, and like the sun was, it was just starting to be dawn, like half an hour before sunrise, and the birds were starting to chirp, and it was just really peaceful. And as I say, like, being in nature is being in abundance. The birds don't sing because they want you to throw money at them or anything like that. They can and they do. And things grow because they can and they do. And everything was just peaceful and wonderful. But this is a good spot to meditate. And then the next day I woke up and went, I might go back to the beach again, because it was just nice. And then 3, 4, 5, 6, I was lucky, it hadn't rained for a long time, so I was probably like 3 weeks in before I woke up and went, oh, it's raining. But by 3 weeks I was kind of in the habit there, and I loved it so much, I went, I'll go down there in the rain. And I checked in on Facebook every time I went down there, like you check in when you go into a cafe or something like that. But then it just became this thing, it's like, a month or 2 months or 3 months. I don't know how long I've been doing it.
Haven't you got an app now? I'm sure there's an app for that. There's apps for timing your meditation,
Yeah.
and then you can every time you do it, it tallies it. So you know how many.
And is that, like, because we measure in our society, we measure birthdays or speed limits or different things for different reasons, but is that, does that add to the pleasure of going, yeah, that's,
I think for me, what this, like the celebration of Jeremy's thousands, I think it gives people something to aspire to. There's not too many meditating heroes in the West.
Keep on.
A lot of my heroes are Asian guys who got around in loincloths and things like that, so...
Not that there's anything wrong with Asian guys in loincloths.
And
Just want to point that out.
this is just skillfully using the Western mind, which is competitive. It does measure, it does tally. It's the way our minds work, When Eastern minds work a certain way, ours work like that. So I think these things can benefit people because it does give them the impetus, the competitiveness, the goal setting to I want to do 1,000 as well, or I want to meditate every morning. So in that sense it can be beneficial. My guided, but when you get to that beach, if then you start thinking, this is my 1,000th meditation, this is my 500, it should be a certain way, I should be getting peaceful by now, or I should be happy this morning. Every time you go to the beach, it's brand new.
Yes.
And that's what my guided meditation is going to be about, by the way, that this is a brand new moment, brand new sunrise. No one's ever seen this sunrise before in the history of mankind. Every moment is fresh, new, and we've got to bring our intelligence to it, our sensitivity, rather than not thinking this is just another sunset. It's our thoughts that say that. We lose the awe of this amazing thing happening. Because we go through our egos and our thoughts, but because we think, this is just 1,000th one or whatever. So I think there is danger in comparing, and also I get away from levels, like Jeremy was saying before. I'm at level 5 and you're at level 3, and I've done 1,000, and therefore I'm better than you. And in the past, sometimes the greatest enlightened people in the monasteries were the cooks or the cleaners or something like that. The high up lamas that made a big deal of it, that they were just too in their heads, that it's the most simple people who found enlightenment, sort of thing. So striving can get in the way.
Yeah.
Striving can get in the way. But at beginning stages, I think this can help people. So this is where context is important. Some people get too, meditations, you can't be seeking, you should have no desire, you should forget about the past, and this is the way you do it. But we've got to be practical, I think. And it helps people to aspire, to celebrate these things, to have apps for it where you can time it. Chimes go off and gongs go off and things like that. These are all the apparatuses that support our meditation, which eventually becomes immediate, non-dual, and very present. But I think these things are important, especially for kids. I want to go and teach. I have been teaching meditation in schools under the guise of Buddhism, because they got me to teach Buddhism in schools, but I ended up just teaching the meditation mostly. And it's important for kids, and I use a few little tricks that help kids. That when you're dealing with children and people, you're dealing with children and people, and you've got to communicate with them. You can't teach what you want to teach. You have to teach them what they're comfortable with and what they can do and things. So it's a lot of skill involved in teaching and helping people to meditate. You can't be too. I don't think you can be too dogmatic about it, or say you're doing it wrong or right or whatever. It's an important question about the measurement, though.
Because it's funny, like I did it because I wanted an interesting place to meditate rather than just sitting in my lounge room. Because up there was in the ashram with 100 people, and there's the leaders up the front, and it's all like really spiritual and awesome. And being down the beach was just fun and interesting, except for the rainy days and the windy days and the annoying days. But I just did it every day, and when I first started going down there, it was like I'd come from that cleansing period where all my attachments and detachments and just was beautiful and fresh, and I had some amazing insights and revelations and go, I've got to write that down. And then over a period of time you sort of get caught back up in the world, and I've got to do this and I've got to plan that, and I'd still persist in the meditation, but I'd have some meditations where the absolute result I got out of that was sore bum and pins and needles in my knees and pain. And one day I was down there meditating, had this amazing thought, which I thought, mate, I've just cracked it. I've discovered this amazing thing. And I just recorded my little video, and because I wanted to share that with other people. Like, I've just discovered this, rather than reading from a book, I've experienced it. And I shared that on YouTube, and people liked it. I went, cool. And then about probably 2 or 3 days later, I was down there meditating again, and just this thought dropped into my head and went, wow, that's amazing wisdom, and I'm going to share that. And I'd probably done like, I don't know, like 3 days, and then I'd done a video, and then another 3 days I'd done a video, and people were liking these, like, do another one, and do another one, and do another one, and then like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to say, because I just got to wait for the inspiration. And then probably the next 14 days in a row, I was just sore bum, pins and needles, like nothing came into my head.
Did that come from feeling the expectation?
I don't know, I think it's just one of those things. It's like sometimes you go to the gym and I don't know whether it's something you ate or it's just, you get this plateau period. You don't just go up by 5 pounds every day and get stronger and stronger and stronger and progress. Sometimes you plateau for 3 months and you just don't have any growth, whether it's spiritual growth or physical growth. And it just is. And you've got to push through that and keep going and keep going and keep going. And then on the 91st day you go, pop, and it happens again. You move to the next level. So yeah, you can't force it. And there's some times when I'll have like one inspiring, amazing, like transcendent moment where I astral traveled to the other side of the world and went back in time and wow. And then the next 10 days in a row you just pins and needles, sore bum. That's all I got, you know. But I'm still in the habit and the discipline of knowing sunrise every day is meditation time. So when the universe conspires to hand you wisdom or to hand you this experience, you're there, waiting for it, and you're not thinking, oh, I've got to buy mushrooms, or I've got to pay the bills, or I've got to do whatever. So,
I always chip Jeremy, he's thinking too much during his meditations, because he's like, he does these videos, you've probably seen them, he's like, I was doing my meditation and I had the thought, I'm like, Jeremy, let that thought go. I forget what they're called in Tibetan, but realizations and meditative experiences actually become obstacles because they are so delightful. You try to reproduce them. You think it's the point of meditation to have these realizations. You do have realizations. I mean, you're connecting with a deep part of yourself, so you literally shine a new light on your life and new perspective on things. So these wonderful things do happen, but it's a matter of getting to right to the bottom sort of thing. And it's like I was saying before, the guy in the cave meditating for 10 years and then finally has a thought of pride, and it can just ruin the 10 years of work because he's centralized back into an ego. But yeah, dealing with realizations and like bliss, for instance, is an obstacle, they say, in Tibetan Buddhism. Even though bliss is a very high realization, non-thought, again, it's an obstacle. People think non-thought is a goal, but it's more of a method that if you cling onto it, it becomes an obstacle. So it's like an art form, a really skillful how you have to be with your meditation. So, and it's so
when you're
skillful.
teaching too, like you get to that point where there's no thought and you're outside of time and space and you go, wow, I just had this fantastic, wonderful experience. But then if you go back week after week after day trying to get that, you'll never get it. And even in the moment, while you just go, wow, I was just thoughtless, and then you start thinking, and you start describing it, and it's like, if you're actually, you see a soap bubble go by, and soap bubble with the rainbow and the sun in the background, it's so beautiful, once you start describing it to yourself, you're having thoughts, and once you try to hold on to it, it disappears. So even that little moment, that still point, as soon as you think I'm having a still point, it's not there anymore. So I found that very difficult, wanting to, because it's so beautiful and blissful and just absolute love and abundance and joy that you want that again and you want that again. But you just got to let go of that and just be. The object of meditation is just to sit.
Well, the non-dual one is to not seek anything. So when it's okay to develop things and seek things, like I was saying, but the highest meditation is to be perfect where you are and not need anything more.
Not even be seeking that joy and the bliss and that.
You can't even seek non-seeking. It gets real tricky, you know. If you're looking for that non-looking, again, so it becomes real. And your ego can take over at any time and say, you know, tell yourself how awesome you are for reaching some state or whatever. So yeah, again, it's real tricky. And then your ego just tells you, well, if I'm here already, why do I have to do anything in the first place, you know? So why do I even have to meditate if I'm perfect already? But your ego tricks you and things like this. So yeah, Buddha talked about desire as being the main obstacle. So desire, not in the sense of just pleasure or sex, but desiring anything more. You know, you think you have to add something to yourself that's going to improve yourself to bring a deeper happiness. And like you were saying, there's neurosis in that. There's neurosis in that. And as human beings, we don't necessarily get better and better and better and better and better and then die. It's more of a thing where we get better, we reach our peak, and then we just, our bodies, our minds, everything tapers off. All spiritual people have to come to terms with that, because they think they might be really enlightened, but then they get cancer, or then they're dying, and then they're like, I thought I was spiritual. So it doesn't make you impervious to death. You're still going to have to live a life and die and get sick and all that. So it's...
Well, you don't necessarily have to get sick.
No, not necessarily.
You can choose an exit plan that's sick-free, illness-free.
Yeah, but again, it's difficult to control that or think that is more enlightened than someone who dies, or something else. This has been a challenge for me because a lot of really high teachers have died of diseases that you think they'd be able to control with their mind or zap away with their G power or something, but they die of fairly common causes. And this is where the highest knowledge isn't necessarily practical knowledge. Like in the West, our science when it comes to nutrition, exercise, is way better than like the Tibetans or the Nepalese or the Indians. They just think eating is to get full. Like that's their level of understanding of eating, whereas we understand eating in a nutritional way and 5 different food groups, and there's like common knowledge with Westerners. So that's a type of knowledge that you don't have to throw out the window just because you're meditating and that sort of thing.
So I know the morning's getting on.
Yes, you really have to pull Jeremy and I up once we start talking.
I can get that, and I even have more questions to ask.
Yeah.
But I would really like to, because we're calling this 1001 Reasons to be Happy, and it's 1001, even though it's 1000 sunrise, because as Jeremy said, and we were thinking as well, it doesn't just stop there. It goes on. Life goes on. As you say, every day is fresh, and you approach that with delight and the confidence, as you were saying, the confidence of knowing the sun is there, the sun is behind everything. It's that confidence, but it's looking for what is fresh. It's looking for that
Authenticity, I think is a great word.
Yeah. So, how would you relate your understanding and experiences in meditation into 1001 Reasons to be Happy? My goodness.
1001 Reasons to be Happy.
Or just one. Let's go for one.
Well, the thing that I try to teach as the highest meditation is like happiness without a reason. So this is why I'm struggling philosophically to answer that question. Like happiness doesn't need a reason.
Exactly, beautiful, lovely.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Good. Yeah. The whole time you've been talking, the word delight keeps coming up. I look at you and I look at you. Embody delight, spark delightful energy from each other. It doesn't matter what aspect of this you're talking about. There's delight in your voice. It's infectious. It's captivating. And so obviously there's this no reason. It's just, it bubbles up. It's effervescent. And it's lovely to witness.
It's before I started meditating, before I met Chad, like for me, getting out of our society and getting out of our, our persistent addictive thinking, was travelling. And I remember taking my kids to Bali, and well, my kids were probably a little bit spoiled. They had an Xbox and they had a PlayStation and they had this and that and they had TVs in their rooms. And then going to Bali and seeing kids who had like a stick and 3 pieces of wood, and my kids going, these kids have nothing, and they're wearing the only pair of clothes that they own, and like we see where they live, and they've got nothing, and yet they're so happy. Like, yeah, isn't that interesting? And they're really, really happy with the stick, and they're really, really happy with the bit of wood. And the kids are like at home, they've got all the videos and all the DVDs and all the Xboxes and the PlayStations. I'm bored. There's nothing to do. And seeing these kids who are just happy because they've got a stick. And you see like a 1-year-old child, like you give them a spoon, and they'll be happy for half an hour with a spoon. And I think that's like where Chad's getting to that point is, you just be happy because, well, I'm happy and I've got a spoon, and I'll play with the spoon. And you take the spoon away and I've got...
That's still with a reason.
and I'll play with my hands.
Yeah,
Lovely.
no reason whatsoever. Yeah,
Yeah.
basically
Childlike.
happiness is your nature.
Lovely.
Yeah, so that's just what happens whether you play with spoons or PlayStations or people or, you know, you express, like you say, bubbling up of happiness. It's a big difference in our culture too, like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, we find it tough to be happy. Indigenous people find it easy to be happy. They can be happy in hardship. Can I just tell this story? It was indigenous people in South America, and some Westerners came to live with them, and they had to take this canoe up a river that had eventually dried up, and they had to carry the canoe. 4 indigenous people on one side, the 4 Westerners on the other side, and they had to drag it over logs, and it was really, really hard. The Westerners were complaining the whole time and how hard it was, and they were, I'm going to have to get therapy for this and whatever. And the indigenous people were cracking up the whole time. In fact, one indigenous, I think it was a Westerner, hurt his ankle, like twisted his ankle, and was really upset. So we had to get a doctor, and everything was getting real serious. That apparently cracked up the indigenous people the most. They were just laughing their heads off. And not to say that Westerners don't laugh at things like that as well, but they just thought it was hilarious, the whole thing, no matter what happened. The fact that they had to carry it was funny. The fact that there was hardship was funny. Like, there was humour in everything. And, yeah, I think we can learn a lot from indigenous people who aren't as materialistic, you know, don't need things to go a certain way to be happy. They can find that in anything. People closer to nature, I think.
Yeah.
I think meditating in nature, Chogyam Trungpa says it, when you can recognise the beauty in nature, actually what you're recognising is the projection of yourself. So to sit in a sunrise, what you're observing is your own beauty, your own natural goodness projected outwards. It's the only way you can recognise it sometimes, is seeing it in an outer form, because we're not used to looking within. But eventually, if you can just sit in that natural state, you realise, well, that's me, that's not just the sunrise, that's, you know, what I'm finding within my own mind, things like that. So
That's interesting too, because a lot of people would, you know, meditate inside, and if you're in a house and there was a crack in the wall, or one of the walls was at this angle, one of the walls was at that angle, and the paint didn't quite match, you'd be looking at things that, oh, that's not perfect, and that's not perfect, and the curtains don't match with the rug, and that sort of stuff. But when you're in nature, everything's perfect, and there's a tree falling over, and there's a rotten log, and there's a vine going up there, and everything is just perfect. But if you took an architect there, it would be chaos, you know. But it's just beautiful, and that's what makes it beautiful. There's just this randomization.
the wiggly lines.
Yeah.
Life is wiggly, as Alan Watts says. We try to straighten everything out, but life is always wiggly.
Zach and I went for a walk after we were with you this morning, and we went down past, I think, beach access 142 or something like that, and someone has taken 3 pieces of driftwood, and 2 of them are forked branches, and one of them is a log. So they've taken these things that are there naturally, and they've made a little seat, it's a little bench. So we're going to have to walk down and grab that, because that's obviously someone's happy place. They've created out of what nature has given them. Just gorgeous. If someone is chugging along and aware that they're seeking more happiness than that they've got, that they're not content, what is one thing that they could change in their lives to get closer to more fulfilling happiness?
Be content.
Oh, that's just that's really throwing down and gauntlet.
Being content no matter what the circumstances.
I understand that.
Yeah,
That's-
one teacher says it's the essence of meditation is practicing contentment.
Right.
So yeah, contentment is a really important word, and it gets at that seeking. You know, when you're not content, it implies you want more or less of what's going on right now.
Looking outside of yourself, or
Yes, that's happiness. 1001 reasons why happiness comes from within is something that came to my head while we were talking about that. Yeah, but